Good morning. I'm Rita Hickman. I'm a body mind expert and I'm a shiatsu massage therapist. And what I do is I help women who are dealing with narcissistic and toxic relationships, whether it's in their past with their family, a parent, mother, father, a sibling, an uncle, or whether they started to get older and they were in high school or college and found that they kept getting into these toxic, narcissistic, romantic relationships. Maybe they married them. That happens a lot. A lot of women end up in relationships with narcissists because they married them young. It was like a way to get out of the house. And then decades go past, and after a couple kids, and then the kids get older, and then women are like, I'm in a terrible relationship. That happens a lot. So, anyways, I help women who are dealing with the craziness of having a toxic person in their life, especially if they either live with you now or you're trying to get rid of them because because you've had them long enough and you're and you're ready to move on, or because it was a parent or family member and maybe they're getting older and now there's this feeling of needing to take care of them, and how do you deal with all those issues in the past. A lot of women who end up in toxic and narcissistic relationships, they also then end up, they're the ones who end up getting help. They're the ones who end up in therapy or 12-step programs or whatnot. And this is actually a very good thing. This is a good thing because part of the reason that women get into relationships with toxic people is because they've got beliefs and ideas about themselves and the world that just aren't very realistic. They don't accurately reflect how the world is, not how the world should be, but how the world is. So today we're talking about how empaths end up in a relationship with narcissists and how to get away from that, how to get out of that situation um, where they're ready to move on. They're ready to either heal their family dynamics or walk away from them or come back to them after they went no contact, or maybe they're considering divorce, in the middle of a divorce, uh, just ended a divorce. All these things come into play. When you're in transition in your life with a toxic person, you need a lot of support because you're making a big shift. And most of the women who are in these relationships have a very sort of specific temperament or wiring. They tend to be empathic. Some people like to call it codependent, but I think codependency ends up as a side effect of empathy that's kind of unchecked. Empathy that isn't worked through and understood what it is. Many women who are in these relationships are hypersensitive to their environment, and because they're hypersensitive to their environment, they like to influence it in a positive way. you know the rule of thumb is empaths like the people around them to be happy because they feel that happiness makes them feel good. And when someone is angry or hurt or upset, that anger, hurt, and upset deeply affects, deeply wounds or hurts the empath because they can feel it. And then there ends up with this strange dynamic between a narcissist who is constantly pumping out, all of that anger and hurt and pain, and an empath who's feeling it and trying to fix it, because they know, because they care. They know what it's like to hurt that much, to have that much pain inside of them, and they want to fix it. Not just they want to fix it because they care about the other person, but they want to fix it because they're sick and tired of feeling all of this stress, all of the anxiety and anger and turmoil that a narcissist is feeling inside of themselves. Empaths, you have to look at yourself as almost a radio transmitter and a radio receiver. And we're very strong. So we feel a lot of stuff that's going on. And if you don't know what it is, if you don't know this is what's happening to you, or this is the dynamic that you're in, it's very easy to get trapped in a nasty cycle. A lot of the women who end up in narcissistic relationships also end up having to deal with some sort of substance abuse, or some other sort of addictive behavior, because in order to handle the high level of stress that they're under, they need something. And so our society supports going towards substances or going towards addictive behaviors in order to manage how we feel. But I was reading some articles this morning because I'm always kind of up on the narcissism field and what people are saying. And one of the things that really struck me is how much anger and hurt that there is out there, and how much of the advice that's given is it encourages more anger and hurt, encourages more trauma, more conflict. It re-traumatizes people. It's about a lot of the advice is, how you need to get back at a narcissist, and you need to, stick it to them, and you need to cut them off, and you need to punish them, and you need to do to them what they've done to you. There's all of this advice out there, which really just encourages this ripping apart inside of an empath. Because remember, an empath is someone who's hypersensitive to their environment, hypersensitive to their emotions. And so when their inner world is all about revenge, or their inner world is how everybody around them is a bad person and the narcissist is an evil person, for an empath, this tends to give them a lot of stress and a lot of conflict. Because at the end of the day, the thing that causes you the most pain is how you feel inside. And so as long as we spend that time looking at a narcissist and saying, aha, this is your fault, you need to change, why are you doing this to me? All the things that a narcissist has been brainwashing an empath into thinking, when we start believing we need to turn this around on the narcissist and behave like them, things aren't going to work out very well. Partially because the narcissist is meaner than you. They've got, guidelines and boundaries that are non-existent, and you, on the other hand, are someone who does have boundaries. So in a pissing contest, you're going to lose. You are going to lose, and they are going to win, because you have values, because you have compassion, because you have empathy. You have places you won't go with what you'll say or what you'll bring out. And if you do, remember, all those words that you're saying, all those things that you're feeling are inside of you. Now it's you that's doing it to you. When we allow ourselves to mistrust everyone, when we allow ourselves to seek revenge, when we allow ourselves to go down that path, besides the normal, natural honoring, we don't want to push it away. Personal growth things these days, I've always had a problem with personal growth stuff. And the reason I have is because it tends to be, you need to be more compassionate. You need to be more understanding. You need to be more flexible. You need to be more. And for women who are empaths, they're already too flexible. They're already too compassionate. They're already too nice. They're already too giving. And so they keep hearing the messages of how they just need to be nicer. They just need to be kinder. They just need to do something differently. And it's very bad advice for an empath. So either they're told you need to go way to the right and find revenge, or you need to go way to the left and sacrifice yourself and martyr yourself. Neither one is healthy. Neither one is good. The path that empaths need to be on to heal from narcissism is the path to heal themselves. The path to look at the world around them, see it very clearly and realistically, have compassion for it, but also have boundaries so that it doesn't overwhelm them. And boundaries are things that you have for yourself. They aren't things that you try to impose on somebody else. You don't say, don't talk to me, and then keep giving the person space to talk to you. You say to yourself, I don't want this person to talk to me, so I'm going to make sure that they don't talk to me, whatever it may be. Cutting things off, blocking them, walking away, not responding, whatever it needs to be for you. So the path an empath needs to get on is one of community and self-healing, one that starts to focus on the good in themselves, start nourishing and nurturing that, the good that they bring to the table. And when that happens, when you clean up those strong emotions of rage and hurt and insecurity and anxiety, that a narcissist has imprinted on you now. Now it's imprinted on you. Now you're feeling and thinking like a narcissist does. And that's not healthy for you. You know, it's kind of like what a narcissist tends to do, and this is true with childhood abuse. One of the biggest problems with childhood abuse, especially let's say sexual childhood abuse, is that the child picks up on and imprints on the emotions and the feelings that the abuser has, all the conflict, all the confusion, all the manipulation, all the hurt, you know, because right, pedophiles are pretty big narcissists. I mean, that's pretty far down the road in order to put aside the welfare of children in that way and think so solely about yourself. So, but that's what happens. Narcissists start to imprint on empaths, and then empaths end up in this weird thing. They're thinking and they're feeling all these negative things. But then on the other side, they're being told they need to be kinder, they need to be nicer, they need to be more flexible. Empaths need an entirely different path for healing from a narcissist. They have to realize that, like Play-Doh, they've been wired, they've been imprinted like something that's moldable by the people around them. We become most like the 5 people around us. And the way that empaths change is to get around healthy empaths, to get around women who've done their work or are doing their work and looking to see the world in a realistic way, to do those number of things that I said, to find peace within themselves, to see the world realistically, but through a compassionate eye, because that's what an empath is. They're compassion times a million. So to see the world in a compassionate eye, but see themselves through a compassionate eye too. That's where boundaries come in, of saying, I'm not willing to accept this. This is not how I'm willing to live my life. And the realistic part, it's still about seeing that people are responsible for themselves, including the narcissist, including the people who are struggling. Yes, we should reach out and help people, but we need to help them in a way that helps raise them up, not in a way that actually enables them to keep being in that mindset, in those thoughts and ideas. Can you imagine? You know how toxic it is for you to listen to a narcissist. Can you imagine what it's like to be the brain inside of a narcissist? To be the nervous system? They're thinking that stuff all the time. Oh my gosh, that's terrible. And that's part of what hijacks you, is because when you're told those things over and over and over and over, you start to believe them too. And then you start to develop the same psyche, the same nervous system as a narcissist does. This is one way that children of narcissists really struggle to break out of that pattern, because they're told their inner nature tells them to be kind, to be loving, to be supportive. But they feel, and their thoughts are, I need to protect myself at all costs and no one can be trusted. That's a real conflict that causes a lot of physical stress. And that physical stress comes out as rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia, diabetes. It comes out as chronic pain. It comes out in a million different physical ways, lupus, Lyme disease, um, all sorts of stuff, a diminished immune system. That inner conflict you have between your nervous system reacting and your knowingness that you want to be a kind, loving, soft, gentle human being, it's going to make you sick eventually. That's where those boundaries come in, to make sure that you are looking out for you, that you don't get so sick that you can't be the beautiful empath that you are. So the path to be on is one of self-healing, one of self-love and self-respect. And as a side effect of that, you end up being compassionate with even more people, because now inside of your head, inside of your body, you've got compassionate thoughts. You've got compassionate reactions. You're like, wow, that's got to be tough. But you're not being hijacked by your own fears and insecurities and need to fix things. You're not being hijacked by that. You're looking at them like you might any sort of problem to solve and say, what do we need to do here? What's the best choice in this situation? You're able to stay rational and balanced. But the only way to do that is to get on a healing path. And a healing path doesn't have to be by yourself. Oh, that's terrible, because nobody can do it by themselves. And you've probably done it by yourself for a long time. That's kind of what therapy is about. It sort of keeps you stuck, especially if you're working with someone who their main thing is to hold sacred space. That's not enough. What an empath usually needs is community, because they're so sensitive and so loving. They need a community to support them. They need women behind them. They need traditions behind them, because where you really want to go as an empath is to feel loving, is to feel kind. You don't want to feel this torn up. And so you have to start finding other women who get where you're coming from, who've been on that same path, who are looking to live a life that has peace and kindness and love. Maybe they've struggled with their own addictions or their own challenges through life. And now it's time to take that next step to trust that there are people out there that can be part of a supportive, loving community, like inherently, at your core exists. You don't want to go down the path of anger and rage and hurt and disgust, and you don't want to go down that path, because that will rip you apart. That's completely against your nature as an empath, completely. It goes the complete opposite direction to feel that much pain and not do anything about it. So the only way you can really make a big change in the world, to be the healer that you are, the empath that you really are, is to work on creating that love and kindness inside of you, and not in isolation, because that's not possible. Because if if you continue to be ripped apart by the conflict inside of you, or pain or health issues because of the stress, you're not going to be able to get what you need, the nourishment you need. It's like trying to find fresh vegetables in the middle of the desert. It's not going to happen. You go where fresh vegetables grow. You go where they exist. You find them. You start eating them. You start putting them in your body and nourishing yourself. And when you start to get the love and the kindness that exists, because it exists, when you start to get that from people, because you've carefully chosen the people you're going to have in your life, and when you start becoming that person, someone who looks at the world in a way that they can protect themselves, but also have compassion for people, and compassion even for the narcissist, you break out of that rage and hurt and reactionary stuff that you have inside of you, because that is what will cause you the most pain. Not even anything outside of you. It's the pain that's inside of you that causes the problem. And so we want to work with that pain inside of you, the one that makes you either want to lash out and hurt people, or the one that makes you lash out and hurt yourself. You need a supportive, loving environment, one that's kind and a little bit softer, to balance out all the messages and all the trauma that you've lived with your entire life. It's time to make a change and to look for people who can support you and love you, because they exist. You just haven't run across them, and they were the ones that you allowed to dominate your life. So if you need a little bit of help on this path, on this journey, reach out. I've got a wonderful group of women that we're there for each other. It's a community of empaths who understand where you're coming from. Or even better, you can coach one-on-one with me. And when you do coach one-on-one with me, you also get the group. You get both. So you get that deep dive work, that individual work, and then you also get the group support and community support that you need. Lastly, you can think about doing a healer apprenticeship. When you get healthy enough, when you're far enough along the path and you're ready to take this stuff and be a healer in your career, in your life, to plant that flag in the ground and say, you know what? I help people heal. I help people grow and evolve. Whether you're a coach in mental health already, a counselor, a therapist, whatever it is, an artist. If you use what you do, if you're an empath who uses what you do and wants to use it in a positive, powerful way, then we do a year-long apprenticeship program, small group, one-on-one. So those are some options. You've got options. And if you need something that's completely free, there's a whole library, a free public group. There's a lot of support out there. But let's stop with the things which are ripping you apart and making you sick. And let's start working on the things that will make you healthy and give you the strength and the insight and the wisdom and the balance to make good choices when it comes to relationships. Whether it's walking away from a narcissist, whether it's healing from a narcissist, or whether it's looking at someone who has high narcissistic traits and but with a little support, with a little love, like in program, like in AA, in things like that. You can you can move forward. You can heal. Okay? So I hope you have a great rest of your day. Remember, if you want to heal from a narcissist, the way to healing is to get the support and love you need so that you can heal. Okay? So I hope you have a great rest of your day. Good luck with this whole virus thing. I know everybody's being nutty and you're trapped in small rooms and cars with toxic people. I get that. So reach out, make comments, and I've got a whole library of things you can listen to besides the doom and gloom of the world. Okay? So have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Okay? Bye.